Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is John Schindler. I'm the CEO here at Liquet Medical. And we're going to talk about pulmonary embolism again. And so we've developed here what we call the Versus Catheter. Now, this is an opportunity for us to develop an intelligent endovascular catheter that is designed to treat the patient in real time while we deliver medication. So we're on the other side of the spectrum from Sanjay's technology. They're focused on pulling the clots out. We're focused on how do we dissolve or do a better job of the clots that are in there. As Sanjay eloquently said, it is the third leading cause of cardiovascular death here in the United States, and I won't beat the horse, we've kind of already seen that data. It's also a little known fact that it is a leading cause of pregnancy-related death, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in front of you today. My own mother passed away from a pulmonary embolism when my sister was born. And so as you can imagine, I've spent the last 30 years of my career all innovating in the vascular space for various large cardiovascular companies. So what is pulmonary embolism? To make it really simple, it is simply a heart attack only in the patient's lungs. And so the way this works is it starts off as a DVT or a blood clot in the legs and gets big enough, breaks free, it travels up through the right side of the heart, and it finds its way into the lungs. There, if we don't treat these patients, eventually the pressure will build up so great that it will literally shut down the right side of the heart and they will die from cardiac arrest. So there are multiple ways we can treat these patients, as Sanjay eloquently alluded to on the removal side, but there's also a lytic side. And what we're doing here is we're taking the fight right to the clots. And the way this works is the doctors will place two catheters, one in each lung, and they will deliver medication over a period of time. And this is driven by the hospital's protocol. It is a one-size-fits-all strategy, really, for these patients at the moment. And so important to note that the doctor gets two reference points, really when the patient needs to be treated and when we think we're going to stop the therapy. And we just kind of assume that all these patients behave the same way. But that's not true. The reality is very different. They have varying amounts of blood clots in their lungs, as you would expect. And so we need a more personalized approach here. And so the stars on this graph actually represent where our maximum patient benefit is for this particular type of technology. And so, as you can imagine, if we were to stop the therapy in this example, in this hospital's protocol at 6 hours, well, for the patient in blue, we will have not delivered enough medication to actually dissolve all of the blood clots. And the flip side is true. We would have, in this case, delivered far too much medication, not realizing that we could have stopped several hours ago. And so what we're trying to do here is avoid the complications that are associated with over or under treating these patients. Those blood clots that are left behind, many of these patients go on to form scar tissue in their lungs. And to fix that is a horrible procedure. We have to open up the patient's chest, put them on a heart-lung bypass procedure, and then we meticulously open up the pulmonary arteries to pull the clots out or the scar tissue out. And then the flip side is true. If we give them too much medication, we can set the stage, put the patient at risk for unnecessary harm, and that is the very real potential for intracerebral hemorrhage. And we want to avoid that at all costs. And so you can see how missing the mark kind of contributes to this 24% readmission rate that we see in the pulmonary embolism setting. And so there has to be a better way to do this. And what we've done is we've designed a hemodynamic-driven catheter that can actually track the patient's pulmonary arterial pressure in real time. We do that right just above the pulmonic valve in the heart. And as you can see, it's a split-tip catheter. And what we're trying to do here is treat both lungs with a singular device through a single access site. And so we can come in through the leg, the arm, and also the neck to treat these patients. But at the end of the day, if we can do a better job of optimizing the therapy here, understanding how much drug to deliver and over what period of duration, then we will do the best we can for these patients. Now here's a look at our proof of concept animal lab data, and we just focus on what we've done here is given a pig a pulmonary embolism and then we saved the pig's life. It didn't last that long. And so, but you can see the trending analysis that we're going to give the doctors here, right to the monitor at the patient's bedside in the ICU setting. There's no additional equipment you have to need or buy in order to make the technology work. So we have a strong IP patent protection about this catheter, and we should have a protected status for many years to come in the market. And what I like about this space, and as Sanjay alluded to earlier, there's a tremendous amount of activity happening right now in the interventional portion of the treatment of these devices. And his technology is a wonderful example of that. The idea here is that there hasn't been a lot of innovation on the lytic side. And it's my humble opinion that a combined therapy at some point in the future will kind of merit itself out if you really wanted the bottom line here. As he mentioned earlier, pulmonary embolism is a massive problem here. There are 600,000 incidents of PE every year in the United States. A full 300,000 of those patients could benefit from an interventional technique, catheter-based technology like ours. And so that's a lot of room for us to do a lot of good for a lot of patients. So where are we? We've had multiple pre-submission meetings with the FDA. They understand what we are up to, and we are right now in the 11th hour of our submission to the FDA on our first 510K. In 2025, we'd expect our clearance. We'll move into a limited market release and start some early in-man work and a pivotal trial. In 26, we will continue generating that clinical evidence towards an expanded indication for the treatment of PE, and then we expect that in 2027. That will give us an opportunity to launch into a full commercial phase, and then we can sit back and look a little more deeply at some of the other IP that we have in-house to build a family of products to treat VTE down the road. As you can imagine, we are raising money. And so this is a great time to actually invest in us. We're very close to one of the most significant valuation inflection points for the company. So all the activities on the left, the new capital would be aimed towards, and this is the terms of our note. If I've piqued your interest in the interventional technique here for treating pulmonary embolism, then we should talk. We've put together a very strong team, and myself and my co-founder, we've known each other for more than 17 years. I think some of these cardiovascular companies that you're familiar with, we've developed over a dozen catheter-based technologies into the vascular space, and so we understand the market very well. And we're supported by a wonderful team, and I'm just very pleased to be able to bring this opportunity and this innovation to you all. Right now, this is our opportunity to personalize the way we treat these patients, okay? Physicians want and need access to that data, and we're gonna give it to them in high fidelity, right at the patient's bedside. This is a widely adoptable technology. It's simple, it's easy to use, it doesn't introduce a lot of complexity, and our idea is that we will expand the base of physicians that can actually treat these patients. We're very near our FDA submission and clearance. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a big valuation inflection point for us. So now is a great time to invest, and we have an experienced leadership team that is ready to execute on our commercial strategy. There's my contact information. Again, if I piqued your interest, let's take some time to talk a little more deeply about the technology. So thank you very much.